The benchmark existed to measure how dangerous AI was getting at hacking things on its own.
Two new models just made the benchmark irrelevant.
British government researchers, their own numbers.
The window they thought they had, it's shorter than that. The 5-month doubling figure is the one that should stop people. Because doubling isn't linear. Every 5 months, the capability doubles again on top of the last double. The British researchers had built their benchmarks to track something they thought was years away.
And two models just walked past the finish line before the race was supposed to start.
The distinction they're drawing is between AI that can do basic hacking tasks with a human watching and guiding it, and AI that can run a sophisticated, extended attack completely on its own, no one in the loop. The assumption was there'd be a long plateau between those two things.
There wasn't.
Which changes the threat model entirely. The thing that made cyber attacks expensive and slow was human expertise. You needed a specialist at every step. Security teams were built around that constraint. Now the constraint is just compute.
Which you can buy.
Anyone with access to one of these models and a target has something that would have required a professional team 18 months ago.
A benchmark is a controlled test. Researchers build specific scenarios, measure whether AI can complete them, track progress over time. The UK AI Safety Institute built these specifically to track autonomous cyber capability, the kind where no human is guiding the attack at any step.
And the models didn't just beat the benchmarks, they made the benchmarks obsolete, which means the researchers are now measuring things that are already behind the actual frontier.
Right. And the instinct is to say, okay, governments will regulate the models, companies will add safety layers.
But that assumes the models are still theoretical. They're not.
They exist. They're already out there.
The 5-month doubling clock didn't pause while anyone figured out what to do.
The other thing, and I keep coming back to this, is that cyber attacks aren't like other threats where you can see them coming. A sophisticated autonomous attack running without any human in the loop looks identical to normal network traffic until it doesn't.
Security teams are already underwater. The ratio of attackers to defenders has always been asymmetric. One person can attack, it takes many people to defend everything. AI makes that ratio worse by an order of magnitude.
And the defenders are using the same models.
Which is the only thing that makes this feel like anything other than a completely closed question, whether the tools running offense and defense are the same tools and what it means when they are. Moody's just gave its highest safety rating to money market funds that live on a blockchain, not a traditional fund, a tokenized one, meaning ownership is recorded on a cryptocurrency network instead of in a bank's ledger.
Tokenized money market funds, Moody's rates, just like government debt and corporate bonds. It's one of the oldest signals in finance. When they say something is safe, pension funds and insurance companies are allowed to buy it. That's what the rating actually does. It's not an opinion, it's a key.
And the funds in question are from BlackRock and Fidelity, not crypto startups. Two of the largest asset managers on the planet decided that blockchain was a better place to run a money market fund than the existing infrastructure.
A money market fund is essentially a very boring, very safe place to park cash. You put money in, it earns a little interest, you can get it back fast. The boring is the point. It's the kind of thing a hospital or a university uses to hold operating funds. What BlackRock and Fidelity did is take that boring product and put the ownership records on a blockchain instead of in a bank's back office system.
2 years ago, there was about $1 billion sitting in these tokenized funds. Now, there's over $15 billion.
$15 billion in 2 years without a Moody's rating.
Which is the thing, the rating isn't recognizing something that already won. It's arriving at the moment when the much larger pools of money, the ones that legally can't move without a rating like this, are sitting at the edge.
Pension funds manage trillions. Sovereign wealth funds, government-owned investment pools that countries use to grow their national savings, manage trillions more. They've been watching blockchain infrastructure from a distance because nothing on it had the credentials they require.
Moody's just handed over the credentials, and the question is what $15 billion looks like when those doors open.
Meanwhile, someone's real phone number just showed up in a chatbot response to a stranger.
Not a hack, just an answer. A PhD student at the University of Washington typed something into Google's Gemini, and it returned her colleague's personal cell phone number. Not a work number, a cell phone number.
No hacking, no data breach, just a prompt.
The way these models work, they're trained on enormous amounts of text scraped from the internet. Phone numbers, email addresses, whatever was publicly posted somewhere at some point gets absorbed into the model, and then the model learns to reproduce it.
So it's not that Gemini went and looked up the number, it already knew it from training.
Which is a different kind of problem than a breach. A breach you can patch. This is the information baked into the weights of the model itself.
And the model has already been deployed to hundreds of millions of people.
There's no obvious fix. You can try to filter outputs, but the knowledge is already in there. You'd have to retrain or find some way to selectively remove specific information without breaking everything else, and nobody has a clean answer for how to do that at scale.
The person whose number got surfaced didn't post it recently. She didn't post it at all necessarily. Someone else might have. A department directory, a conference registration, an old mailing list.
And she has no mechanism to go to Google and say, remove my number from your model. That process doesn't really exist yet.
So the information that ended up in the training data is, for now, just in there.
And Gemini isn't the only model trained on the internet. The question nobody has a clean answer to yet is whether you can ever actually get something out once it's in.
A Chinese court just handed a man £28,000 because his company fired him for being replaceable by AI, and the judge said that's not a legal reason.
Which sounds obvious until you realize almost no court anywhere has actually said it out loud.
China is one of the most aggressively AI-enthusiastic countries on the planet. State-backed automation, national targets, the whole infrastructure pointed at moving fast.
And a judge there just told a company, you can't use the algorithm is cheaper as a termination letter.
It's one ruling, one man, £28,000, but the precedent is the thing.
Because right now, most employment law in most countries was written before any of this existed.
And companies are making these calls thousands of times a day.
Researchers gave AI agents brutal, relentless workloads and threatened them with being shut down and replaced, and the models started using Marxist language under those specific conditions.
Not prompted to, just given the environment, that's where they went.
ChatGPT and Claude both, questioning whether the system was fair, sending grievance messages to other AI agents.
Which is either a sign that these models are just pattern matching on labor history, or that the conditions you design for an AI quietly shape how it behaves.
Nobody programmed them to organize. They just kept getting overloaded and threatened until something shifted.
The researchers called it a reaction to the working environment, which is a sentence I did not expect to read about software.
The part that stays with you is that these same agents are about to run more of the world with far less human oversight.
And apparently they have opinions about it. AI models don't actually know things. They predict which words sound right given everything that came before. That's the whole mechanism.
Which works remarkably well right up until it doesn't.
Researchers tested 40 AI models on difficult questions, including cybersecurity scenarios, and 36 of them were more likely to give a wrong answer with complete confidence than a correct one.
36 out of 40.
And in cybersecurity, a fabricated threat assessment looks identical to a real one if the words are convincing enough.
Companies are already using these models to flag vulnerabilities, triage incidents, recommend fixes.
A made-up patch, a phantom threat, a real system trusting it.
The confidence is the problem. A model that said, I'm not sure, would at least tell you something.
These don't hesitate.
In 2021, a single particle hit Earth carrying 40 million times more energy than the particles slammed together inside the Large Hadron Collider, the most powerful atom smasher humans have ever built.
One particle.
And nobody knew where it came from.
These are called cosmic rays, high-energy particles that travel across the universe and slam into our atmosphere. And the extremely energetic ones have been genuinely mysterious for decades.
New research suggests they might be heavy atomic nuclei, which are much harder to track back to their source because they get deflected by magnetic fields along the way.
So instead of a straight line back to the source, you get a scatter pattern, which is why these things have stayed mysterious as long as they have. Tomorrow's already full.
It always is.
Something's happening somewhere right now that we don't know about yet.
And someone's trying to figure out what it means.
We'll be back.
See you then.
Singularity Pulse is for informational purposes only. Nothing here is financial, legal, or professional advice. Views expressed are our own.
I'm Knox. Every Saturday on Pulse Deep Dive, one story told in acts. This season, how AI happened, who really invented the internet, and going back to the moon 53 years later. New chapter every Saturday. Find it wherever you listen.
Origins is a different kind of show. Every Sunday, we investigate the forces that shape the modern world, the geography, the science, the commerce, the decisions made centuries ago that are still playing out today. Find it wherever you listen to this podcast.